In this video tutorial, I will go over some of the basic features of Word, and then I will discuss the nuances, the specifics of the Word assignment posted in Blackboard. Well, you're looking at a Windows 7 screen, and the way that I'm going to get to Word, which is created by Microsoft, it's Microsoft Word, and I'm going to use the 2013 version, which means it's the version that was created in 2013. I'm going to click on the button in the lower left hand corner, the start button, and there's a search programs and files area. I'm going to start typing in Word. I find the version that I want, and it opens up. Well, before I click on the blank document, I want you to be aware of this page. This is the templates page. And there are so many different templates available to you. These are pre-made documents that you can use and modify to make your own documents look incredible right from the start. However, before we do this, you should probably, I should say before you do this, you should probably click on Take a Tour. You should take a tour of Word to see what's available. In our example, I'm going to click on Blank Document because I want to discuss some of the basic features of Word. Well, when you first get into Word, you'll notice tabs across the top. The File tab, then Home, Insert, Design, and so on. And depending on how you've customized your Word document, you may actually have a few more tabs over here. That's an advanced thing that you can do, is add on more features, and we can discuss that in another video. You should probably be aware of the four corners of the program. Many times programmers put in important features in the corners. For instance, in the lower right, there's a slider, a zoom bar, that you can make things larger and smaller. That's important to know. I'll make it a little bit bigger for our viewing purposes here. In the upper left-hand corner, the File tab, this is where you're going to do things like print and save and share, open up new documents, things like that. You'll see that I'm on the Home tab right now, and the Home tab is where they put a majority of the features that they know that people like you and me, you and I, will use consistently. So they put things like how to change fonts, all the different font tools, and the paragraph tools, and they have preloaded styles and editing and so forth. So before you even start this assignment, what I suggest you do is type in some text and then start clicking on the different features that are available to you. Highlight some things. Check out the different font styles. You can give it color, and you can highlight, make things bigger and smaller and bold and underline. But there's more to it than that. You can do things like change paragraphs and add bulleted items. That's really good to know. You should click on every single feature and see what happens. Click on all the little down arrows, see what's available to you. In each of these groupings, you'll notice a little button. And when you click on that little button, it'll open up a whole host of additional features that you can use. That's important to know. This is a quick way to instantly access some of the powerful features in Word and PowerPoint and Excel and all of the other programs. So be aware that that's available to you. The good student will check out everything. This is how people learn. Click on the Insert tab. You'll find the page break. We'll be talking about that in this lesson. You can insert pictures from here, online pictures, pictures from your computer. You can insert shapes, smart art, charts. You should check all of this out. You can put in headers and footers and individual text boxes and symbols. The Design tab, there's different ways to design text and the whole document. Lots of features. The page layout, this is where you can do all sorts of things like modifying the page setup and the paragraphs. The References tab, this is crucial. As a student, you should spend some time in the References tab. In this particular class, in this video, we won't have time to go over it. However, if you're doing things like MLA or APA documents, there are preloaded things that you can use in here, citations and bibliographies. You can add table of contents that look professional. It takes literally 2 seconds to add a table of contents. So you should go to YouTube and search references, Word 2013 or Word 2010, whatever version you're using. Learn about the features in here. The Mailings tab. This is where you can do things like mail merge and create letters and envelope. This is how they do it in the office. And when you're in the classroom, it'll be really important to know how to do this as well. The Review tab. This is where you can check out spelling and grammar and the language tools, the word count, thesaurus. You can do markups. Sometimes your instructors do markups. You as a teacher can do markups on student work. Accept things, reject things. Look on YouTube, type in the Review tab or type in changes and you'll learn about this. The View tab. This is where you can learn about all the different ways to view your documents. So that's just a very quick overview of Microsoft Word. Let me log out of this and log back in, and then I'll give you the specifics, the nuances of this particular assignment. This assignment, take a second to come up here. This assignment has you create 4 separate pages, and those pages will be separated by what's called a page break. We'll talk about that in a minute. But on page 1, what you'll need to do is you're going to be creating an announcement that you're going to send home to your parents. And you can create the scenario yourself. But what you should do is create an announcement. Maybe you want to put an announcement up top. I don't know. This is completely your choice. Maybe type announcement and then it's Mrs. Smith's first grade class. Clicking the enter button a few times. I'm clicking this justify button, align left. And here's where you're going to want to put in the who, the what, the where, the how, the why. Always include all the important information. The last thing you want to do is confuse your parents, your students, especially with the younger grades. You're going to want to make things very, very, very clear. In addition, you're probably going to want, in fact, for this assignment, you're going to want to include your name. An email. You can just make up the email, that's fine. Put in a phone number if you have a phone number to your class. Make up a phone number for this example. Well, right now this looks pretty plain. However, what we want you to do is jazz this up a little bit. And you can do that in many, many different ways. For instance, you can highlight text. Change the font, the color, maybe bold, italicize, underline. I don't know what it is for you. You'll have to check it out. Maybe you want to highlight it. That looks a little gaudy, but that might be good for a first grade class. Maybe you want it aligned to the left or the center or the right. I don't know. Maybe you want to take the who, the what, the where, and the why. Give it a symbol. Make it a little bit larger. Be creative here, folks. Many times, Microsoft Word will default to very goofy line spacings. If you want to tighten things up or change things, you can either highlight the entire document. The way you do that is hit Control Hold down Control and then hold down A. It'll select the entire document. Then what you can do, I'm on the Home tab here. There's a couple different ways to do this. But there's a little button in the lower right-hand corner of the paragraph area. If you click it, it'll open up this paragraph set of choices. One thing that you can do is you'll notice that Microsoft selects or starts off by default as having multiple line spacing. It's ridiculous. It often doesn't make sense. Maybe you want everything single spaced. Click on single. Another thing that Microsoft does is it adds, every time you hit the carriage return, the enter button, it adds a little bit of extra space because it thinks you're starting a new paragraph. And while that may be true, it adds a little bit of extra space between the paragraphs, which can look ridiculous, especially if you're writing an essay. So what you can do is you can change it says spacing and then after, you can change that to 0. Then click OK, and it'll shrink things up. Then you can add the spaces as necessary. There are many different things you can do. You can also highlight selected text, change the line spacing of just selected text. Lots of different options here, folks. But for you, for this particular assignment, I want you to make this announcement. Make it look creative. Think about what grade you're going to teach. Younger grades, maybe you're going to want to put in animals or larger fonts, simpler words. Older students, you're going to want to maybe a little bit more direct, maybe a little less fluff. One thing that we're going to ask you to do is insert a picture. How do you insert a picture, you ask? Click on the Insert tab and click on Pictures. Well, in this particular case, it's asking for pictures that are on my computer. I don't have any good pictures that I want to use. However, if your computer is hooked up to the internet, if you click on Online Pictures, you can simply type in, let's say it's an animal, sheep. Click Enter. Check out all the sheep. Click on it, click Insert, and bah! Now you have a picture of a sheep. You can move it around a little bit if you like. You can change the position of it with text wrapping. You can learn more about that in another video. Lots of different options available to you. But one thing that I want to show you here is whenever you insert a graphic, I'm going to click off the graphic and click on the graphic. Please note now, you may have not noticed this, up in the upper right, the Picture Tools Format tab will now be available to you. And there's lots of different things you can do with pictures. You should be aware of this as a teacher. It's not good enough just to add a picture and drag it out and make it look bigger and smaller. While that's certainly something you can do, learn how to put things like borders on there. That's going to look silly. You can change borders, effects, the page layout, the positioning. Lots of different options for positioning. Lots of things you can do. You can crop pictures. So know that when you add a photograph, click on it, there are lots of options available to you. So page 1 has you create an announcement. When you're done with page 1, below the last set of information, the last thing that I want to point out is you may want to have a specific brand, meaning a particular style that your pages, the things that you send home, they always have. So maybe you want to put your name and your email underneath the title. This is just an option here. The good news is once you create this, you can just copy this over and over again. I would say make it look better than this. However, this is just one idea of how to brand, how to make your documents look consistent. Another thing that you can do is you can add a border. Maybe you put a border around every single document. This gets a little bit tricky when you're using multiple pages because it can be hard to put a border around just an individual page. However, in this paragraph grouping, there's something called the borders dropdown. And you can click on it, and if you click at the very bottom, it says borders and shading. You can click on borders, which means borders are tricky because when you are working on an individual item, let's say it's this line of text right here, if I click on the default borders options, it just wants to put a border around that text. Or let's say I highlight this. This may be all you want to do, and that's absolutely fine. But if you want to put a border around the entire page, you have to know to come down here. Once again, I'm in this paragraph grouping. And at the bottom, it says borders and shading. Well, there's a tab that says page border. And here you can choose all sorts of different page options. Lots of different options. And we don't have time to go in there. You can see how it puts a border around the entire page. I'm not going to put a page border around this particular item right here, but you could. So that's how you create your first page. When you're ready to start page 2 of this assignment, you can insert what's called a page break. Let me explain to you how to do this and why this is important to know. So I put the cursor below the last item, maybe a couple lines below the last item. I click on insert and I click on page break. What that does is it starts a new page. And you may say big deal. Well, how that's a big deal is if you have a page break in here and I type, if I hit the enter button, it won't continually push everything down on the subsequent pages below it. A page break allows a nice hard break in between pages. Another thing that I want to show you is something called the non-printing characters. I'm on the Home tab. I click on the non-printing characters. And what this does is it shows me the hidden code behind what's going on. Now these characters will not print, so that's why they call them non-printing. But it can show me things like these backward-looking P's. Every time I hit the carriage return, the enter button, it makes one of these. So I can see where the enter button has been pressed. This can help. But it also shows me where the page breaks are inserted. In fact, this is exactly what I do when I check out your assignments. I'm going to look at your assignment, then I'm going to hit this non-printing button up here, and I'm going to see that there's a page break between every single page. Now you can turn these on or off. Some people leave them on. It drives me a little bit crazy, but I do use it to find out things like how many times I've hit the enter button. That's important to know. In fact, well, we'll turn them off. Here we're on page 2. This is where you're going to create announcements. However, I want you to put 3 announcements on this page. So you can use similar information as up here. However, what you're going to do is copy it out 3 times. So let's say you had a style that you like. Maybe it's this right here. Maybe it's all this. I copy it. Now this isn't going to be perfect because this is too large, so I'm probably going to want to shrink this up a little bit. Take out, this is where understanding how many times you've hit the enter button comes into play. I want you to shrink this up a bit. We also want you to add a picture here. Here's our picture right here. And we can do things such as move it around a little bit. And I'm just clicking on the different options here because you can do things like put it in front of the text, behind the text. Maybe I want to move it over here. Tighten things up a little bit. Now remember where I said I wanted 3 on the same page? So format this the way that you want. Highlight it all. And it really does help to have the non-printing characters here. You can see how many times you press enter. I want to highlight everything that I have set. Skip down a couple lines. Copy and then paste. And then paste again. Spread this out. Let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see an entire page. There we go. A little bit hard to get it perfect for the video here. Okay. And you'll have to adjust this a little bit. Try to get about equal spacing there. The next thing that we're going to want you to do is put a dotted line in between these announcements. This is where you're going to cut it out. Or maybe your student helpers are going to cut it out and you want to show exactly where to cut. So what you can do is you can come up to the Insert tab. This is neat. This is good to know. Click on Shapes, then Line. You'll get the cursor will turn into a plus. And then you can just hold it on the left side, hold down your main mouse button, drag it over to the right. And you can move this and change this later. It doesn't have to be perfect. The good thing is you can also copy this very easily. And when you release it, you'll notice that you have different options. One option you have is to change the weight of that line. Let me make that a little bit darker. The other thing that you can do is, you see where it says dashes? You can make that into dashes. Let me get rid of this show hide button here so you get a better idea of what's going on. You now have a nice dotted line that if you click on it till you see this arrow, this 4-starred arrow, the points go in all different directions. If you select the arrow, right click, click copy, and then where you want the next line to be, you click paste. It'll paste that line exactly where you want it to go. And then you can do things like move it around. Maybe you want it up here or down here. This is a very easy way to create dashed lines that you can, number one, copy, but number two, manipulate. Because could you do this? Could you hold down the shift button or the space and then hit the line button on your keyboard? You could do that, but it'd be very hard to cut and copy and move around. However, this line option allows you to put these cool lines anywhere that you like. That's neat to know. When you're done with this page, click Page Break. On this page, page 3, this is where we're going to make a permission slip. And you can create a permission slip about any topic. Maybe it's going to the zoo, whatever it might be. But the point here is, consider branding. In fact, for this assignment you have to, but consider branding all of your documents. In fact, if you create this, you can just put this on every single document. You can save this document and then you have it for all time. So if we create a header in the style that we like. And look, it even comes over with a sheep here. We can now put in the who and the how and the what and the why. Put all the information that's necessary for this field trip. You'll probably want to change this to field trip. Or I should say it's a permission slip. So maybe it's a permission slip for a field trip. I'll let you create the scenario, whatever you want to do. But it's as easy as putting the information. Make sure that you have an image on here. Another thing that you can do before we go any further is you can, once you create this the way that you like it, you can highlight all of the text and you can put a border just around this information. Highlight the information. I'm on the Home tab. I click in the Paragraphs group. I click in this Borders area, and I click on Outside Borders. And you'll have to adjust this and play with this, but this might be a neat way to put a border around individual items. So you'll need to copy this down because you're going to put 2 of these permission slips on one page. However, if you've made the dotted line up here, it's as simple as clicking on it, right-click, copy, paste. You can move it around, you can adjust it up and down, get it nice in the center. You're going to need to copy this all over. You're going to need to duplicate this down here, and I'll let you do that. I'm just going to move this up for now. Pretend that you put it right here, the second portion. And then finally, page 4. This is where you're going to create a weekly table for your parents. And trust me when I say that the parents that you have will really appreciate that you do this. I'm going to put a page break in between pages 3 and pages 4. I can see that it says page break. Remember, this is a non-printing character. It's not going to print, but it allows you, the user, the creator, to see what's going on. Remember, we talked about branding many times. Maybe you want to copy over the header. Maybe you want to put it down at the bottom. I don't know. Whatever's good for you. And you'll certainly have to adjust that. The main point of this is I'm going to show you how to insert a table quickly and easily into your Word document. Anytime you'd like to insert something, click on the Insert tab. And one of the first choices, because this is used a lot, is Table. And since you know that you're going to have 5 days of the week, and you can adjust this, by the way, you can add rows and columns, but let's say that you're going to have a header row. In fact, we insist that you do, and then you're going to have 5 different classes. So I can just highlight over this. I put more than I wanted to, but that's okay. Monday, Tuesday, and so on. Oh, by the way, if you want to get rid of columns, you just simply highlight the entire column or row, but in this case column, right click, and it says delete columns, and it'll delete it. So I'm actually going to delete these last 2 again. Neaten it up a little bit. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Now, since I am working with a table, notice in the upper right, the table tools, well, actually 2 tabs will appear to you. There's the Layout tab and the Design tab. Well, the first thing you want to do is come up with a nice design. Lots of different choices, and literally just hover over one and it's done. Nice and easy. Now, in creating this, what I did not do is put a column to the left, because this is where I'm going to put my classes. So what I can do is, if I incorrectly created the table in the first place, one thing I could do is click on the table, click on this little square in the upper left hand corner, and it'll select the entire table. I could delete it and then redo it. But in this case, I don't feel like redoing it. I'm going to highlight the first column, right click, and it says insert. One of the choices is insert column to the left. Now I have a nice column to the left. And create a table showing the different time slots available throughout the day. Pretend that you're a teacher and you teach multiple classes. This will be helpful with this assignment. So, or your students go through their day. You're going to create a table for your students' entire day. Art and history and math, science and reading and language arts. Also, be nice to know, maybe you want to put in here the times. Maybe this is where you put in, this is from 8:20 to 9:15. They have art 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And so on. You can fill this in. Create a little mock table. So number one, we know that you can create a table, but we want you to add a header. Use a table styles here to really make this stand out. And then add some columns. Make sure you have enough columns for the days of the week. Make sure the rows are in here. Pretend like this is the schedule for the week. Lots of different ways to do a schedule here, folks. This is just certainly one idea. Okay, well, I hope this video helps you get started and create your assignment. There are lots of different things you can do. If you don't know Word, you can go into a tutoring center. You can certainly talk to your instructor. You can go to the Microsoft website. We'll actually post that in Blackboard. There are wonderful tutorials to help you learn all the ins and outs of Microsoft Word. When you are ready to submit this, save this entire document. You're only going to submit one document. Click Save As. Call it A09. John Smith. Save it somewhere that you know that you can find it, and then upload it into Blackboard. Good luck, folks.